So here we are again with Elodie, and I'm going to say this every time, I absolutely love having reflection calls with you because what gets channeled through is just so high vibrational and it opens up a door for everyone to enter that space. We touched a little bit before on holding our vibration high and not dimming it for anyone. Well, we always have a choice, but then you are choosing to lower your vibration to meet the other where they're at. And as way showers, and if we really are going to shift the vibration of the planet, we truly do need to stand in our energy and stand in our discernment and say, this is who I am now. And I am constantly shifting and evolving and becoming a greater version of myself if we make those conscious choices in the here now moment and really be curious and start to explore all the programs that we are holding within ourselves, all the things that we are identifying in that are holding us back and keeping us stuck in a lower vibration. And one thing that Elodie touched on just before we started recording is perfectionism. So this is going to be juicy because I think a lot of people can relate to this. And I'd like for you to take the lead on this, Elodie, and then we'll see what comes through.
Mm. So first, I want to say as well that I'm enjoying this
Oh,
conversation. So thank you for that. Um, yeah, like I was sharing just with you before that, it's been a bit of a wobbly moment of week, midweek, and as was tuning in, I realized there was a judgment around me not being, while you were talking about high vibration or whatever, not being high or not being in my best and perfectionism hit me like as the insight, as the message. And for me, it was to accept where I was, as in I was not in reaction with what I was feeling. But I was trying to find a response. I was trying to get out of it. I was fighting it still on a certain level. And I find it like accepting where I am in this moment is what's gonna like dump me back up. And really, again, we've been talking about self-love, but accepting that moment, because in that there's also information and there's awareness, which is even coming bigger, because I'm allowing as well myself to be vulnerable in that moment of feeling not so good or not so great. Even this morning, actually, as I woke up great, and then at some point I felt confused or just like a veil or my eyes, and I was driving, so I felt, okay, I'm aware of this, and just being in that awareness as well, opening the space of there's nothing wrong in that moment. And as I was also asking for guidance on what was happening during the week, I came across this phrase of like, whatever, if it looks like a bad day or a good day, spirit is always having the experience. It's not judging. And the perfectionism can just take you on always, like, digging because you think you're not there or you're not high vibe or everything. And all this can become actually another um
trap.
trap. Yeah, to be stuck in.
Yeah, it is a trap. It's
Yeah.
totally a trap. At the end of the day, if we want to simplify things, judgment is our ego. That's it. And if we remove ourselves, the ego's not bad. It's just a tool, and it's just giving us feedback and information of where we are in the here now moment. And if we're really going to take a good hard look at what this whole experience is, we are energetic beings having a human experience. And that involves programming and ego and learning how to work around it. And we can wake up feeling really, really great, and then it drops. And because there's information there, and the reality is that we're always fluctuating in vibration. And as we become conscious superhuman beings, we're very hyper aware of these fluctuations, and then we can pull on our tricks and pull on awareness and use all our tools to shift in and out of whatever experience that we want, because we are actively co-creating with a field of intelligence that is a part of us and all around of us. It's everything. And perfectionism, yeah, that's a sticky one, because it's so tied into ego. And how can we work with our ego so that it doesn't hold us in these low vibrations, like where I must be doing something wrong, or I'm failing at something because I know I'm capable of this. I believe in myself and I've experienced this. And now all of a sudden I've dropped. What did I do wrong? Like, that's the big question, right? And you did nothing wrong in that now moment. It's just a lot of information that you're processing in every now moment. And again, that is the dance of being hyper aware of all this information that's coming in and out and moving through you, and attuning. And maybe this is something that we should talk about, is really becoming really good at attuning and aligning ourselves with the right messaging, the right frequency, whatever that is in alignment with our highest self, and using our tools and tricks to help us get there so that we can resonate in a frequency that's in alignment with our highest self.
Mm. Yes. And so like for me first, it's like it's okay not to be okay as well.
Yeah.
If we're not like, then going into like the the rat race down is like it's noticing that. And then you were talking about tools. Like for me, there's various one, but sometimes it's just having a conversation. Okay, what's going on, and and maybe just have a conversation with that voice as well, because sometimes we forget that either I, I had been triggered by something and I hadn't been able to deal with it in that moment, and then it kind of got stuck somewhere in my body.
Mm.
So as soon as I started walking, and it was lovely, I was walking by the river, there's thoughts which came back, and I was like, oh God, that's 2 days ago. I hadn't had the space to unravel it, or at least give it space to be acknowledged. And so that was the confusion in literally in my mind. I spoke it by the river walking, and boom, I was back. I was. But that's what I'm saying. It's okay not to be okay, as in like there's something which wants to be heard. There's a part sometimes which wants to be heard, and it's just giving that space, not saying it's bad and putting it away. It's like giving that space, because it can pass really quickly as well. And for me,
Exactly.
that reminder of like, I'm having that sort of day or that sort of moment, because sometimes it's just a question of moment, and switching it with the response rather as well, that reaction, which can be putting it away. No, I feel good, or that sort of like, I feel high. But if you're not ready to feel high, you can say as much as you want. You can put on the high beat music. As soon as you stop that, it's gonna come back even stronger in my face sometimes. And that's like, the moment has passed, and not only the moment has passed, but it's been building up that when it come back, that's
It will
and
blow up in your face. You are 100% correct about that. And I think you touched on it so beautifully, because ego is directly connected. Like if you're suppressing energy, I should restart there. The suppressing energy, information, parts of ourselves, it's just going to come back harder eventually. So just face it. That's why doing the inner work is so important. Face whatever resistance is coming in, face those things apart that are a part of you that you want to let go. Maybe you're done with it, but it's still there, and just acknowledging it and saying, okay, I did resonate with that. I did play in that energy in the past, but I've moved through it and I'm proud of myself because I no longer need to go there and learn that lesson. And I want to keep moving and growing and stay in that momentum of stepping into our highest self. That is where the magic comes, because we are always evolving. Our former self, yesterday, I'm not the same person that I was yesterday, and nor are you. And really just being in the present is just, I get to choose to operate from my past programming, or I can choose to explore what it is to be me in my highest light. And that is always the dance of now.
mm, yeah, and it's easing up. I would say there's that sense of easing up, and sometimes situation which look similar to or to the past just come up to realize, like we were talking, how far one has gone on the journey. Because even if there's that flutter of reaction, this is just a flutter now. Because it's
Mhm.
not, again, it's not about being perfect, of like it being in always the I'm not there, and it's okay, because
Mhm.
it's my response to that, or how I can nurture myself in those moments when I feel not so good with the world or myself ultimately. And that's where our power is as well. It's just
Yeah.
like seeing the situation, a situation, which is not even about reminding, is like what's coming to me right now, and how now can I respond to it, even if it will get muddy, or whatever, even if it's not like all rainbow and bright. But within myself, after that has passed, I know how to come back, and I know what to take from the medicine of the situation. I can see it, when before I might have reacted, and in the mud, I would have got stuck in it. That's like, even if it gets muddy, it's like, okay, now wash it off. And what did I learn from it, or what was there for me to see? It's not even so much about learning, because you were saying we're becoming, and for me it was a beautiful message as well, in terms of like, so that day when I was feeling part of the phrase, I was like, well, show me something beautiful, so show me something or magical, or a miracle. And I realized I don't need a miracle, or magic is the reality of who we are. When the mud is on it, and everything, all the programming is what make us look at life like it's not a miracle. But we are a miracle. It's everything which on it, which which and for me, just to hear that, I don't know if I can put it in word. It's like, yeah, it's not about needing a miracle. Miracle is there. It's just my vision is blurred, and that's it. So
Exactly. Your perspective is the miracle. And if you're looking through the divine eyes of love and that's what shifts everything. As you were speaking, I could see this child who fell in this puddle of mud all over the face. And in that now moment, that child can cry and operate in like, oh, look at me, I'm full of mud, poor me, which may be something that's learned or whatever, or they've learned to, oh, look at me, how messy I am, look how funny I look, this is kind of fun, and just and shine that rainbow light from within through the mud. That's living in the now moment. That is the magic, that is the miracle that you're speaking of. And I love that you say that. And because what we're really doing is we're really exploring what it is to live in this matrix reality. And it is a bunch of, again, it's a bunch of information that's going in and out. It's how we filter that information and move it, working with the laws of the universe and being in hyper awareness of our every now moment and making conscious choices to look at things, at life, at all scenarios through the eyes of love and through the eyes of inspiration or any high vibrational experience that you want to co-create with the universe. And then if we can master crossing over and shifting into what it is to operate outside of programming, and more of us are starting to experience this. So this is very real, it is very possible. And the journey towards that is where the power and worth comes in, because it is a dance. And when we go back in and we play in that, it's not just for us, it's for everyone. It's a collective ascension. We are all learning and growing from one another. And that's the beauty of being in this human experience on Earth. And but when we do get a chance to live for longer periods of time in these spaces of just being the frequency, being a channel, holding these really, really high, being ultra sensitive and holding these high vibrations, then you get to bring in a new experience. And for me, and I'd like to touch on this a bit with you, how we become it's the separation really does dissolve, and you really do become part of a field and oneness. And the best way I can explain this is I like to reference movies because it takes out the personal element, and I think everyone can relate to it. So when you're holding, when I personally am holding, I'm able to be in my channeled state outside of programming. If I listen to, for instance, the new Gladiator movie is coming out soon, and I saw a little preview about it, and I'm channeling into the frequency of this gladiator that's going into the arena, and like something comes in me, and I'm like, get me in that ring. I just like, I want to fight for, and it's just that maybe that's what actors do, but I'm really tapping into it. But I'm not there, but I feel like that is me, and I am there. And when I'm seeing somebody go through something that is really painful and traumatic, I weep and I feel that pain that that person is going through. Oh my gosh, like just doing that right now. It's just, I, I want to send them so much love so that it brings them closer to source, God, whatever it is that they need in that moment, so that they can move through that experience, because that is not a fun place to be. So that's what I mean about dissolving that separation, because we become so connected in whatever we're focusing on or tuning to in that now moment. And for me, it comes through in a very passionate way. Because we're just holding these higher vibrations. So it's just flows through me. So I'd like to get your perspective on that. And yeah, I'll let you just go into flow here.
Hmm. Um, so I was, yeah, I resonate when you say you watch a movie and you like, you can feel the character. Sometimes a bit too much as
Not
well.
too much.
Yeah, I can imagine it. And yet it's the playfulness of it. And like we
Yeah.
were saying, actors get to play all those roles. Um, and then in terms of the compassion, I was listening to a program um on the radio, and they were talking about one of the um presentator,
The
is that
presenter.
presenter, um who died yesterday, and they were like, the program was really about him, so I could also feel the emotion of all the people sharing about him. So there's that piece of tuning in to the other person, and the compassion which can come with it. And yet for me, I've learned as well not to be pulled into it. So the other person as well, I mean, there it's in the radio, they didn't need me anyway, but it's like actually the other person is not, you was sending love, and yet also holding them in the space where they can find their own power through whatever they are experiencing, and transmute it, because there is also, well, if we talk about grief, there's such a medicine in it,
Mhm.
and it's not so much being taken over by the emotion. It's like what can be unraveled in the body from that emotion, in terms of like everything which is being held as past experience. Sometimes it's a catalyst to go through that. So I think I'm going sideways with what you asked me to, but that's what's coming through. Um, and
You're dissolving the illusion of separation though when one passes.
yeah, and I feel also it's I don't know how it related to the perfectionism again. It's like all this situation that we might call bad, it's like, as far as like violence or sadness or grief. On the other side, it's like there's another part of it that each individual going through a challenging situation, if it's being transcended, has got so much power as well for the individual to step back into a place of sovereignty and of miracle, because it's like going back to miracle as well, something which looked like a miracle or magic from a certain point of view, literally a point of view through the eyes, but also the experience. At some point, miracle is not a miracle anymore, in the sense of this is actually where we are from, and what we are. So life is all miracle, and then that power of miracle as well, because some people have got so much like magic or miracle is can be, like we were talking about discipline. It's all those words which are full of power if it's put outside. But yet, if we connect really to miracle within, and that frequency, then miracle is normal, is the normal, is the norm.
I'm following you. I'm reading it, and I think this is so beautifully. That was really well said, because it really is tying in the two. Basically, what we're exploring right now is operating from ego programming, third level consciousness, or operating from fourth level consciousness, your high self in flow outside of programming, identity, and ego. So perfectionism, when you're in third level consciousness and you're operating from needing to control, needing to achieve, I can do this better. It's all based in control. At some point you cross over, you go into 5D and in flow, and perfection just is, everything's just perfect in the
Divine.
now, in the, because it's in flow. It's all exactly right because you surrender and let go of control. That really is the secret sauce, is being able to surrender, let go, and live in flow. But you need to understand how energy works, how our identity or programming and all this stuff comes into play. But when you can surrender, be in flow, hold a high vibration, knowing that everything is exactly right and everything is working for us in every now moment, there is a freedom that comes from that. And then you can just be in whatever experience, be in divine perfection, be in the miracle pattern, and just allow life to unfold around you, and hold these intentions of the highest light for the greater good of all. That's living in purpose, and that just takes it to a whole other dimension, because that's really when that unity consciousness comes in, and it's a miracle in a whole other level.
Mm. Yes, and that's where the response can come when there is challenges, because it's seeing it's just a situation, and what it's coming and how I can respond to that. Like you were saying, from the third, then you're gonna see it as difficult and having to work it out. And from the fourth, you're gonna see, okay, this is that. It feels a little bit like, well, I can, if you compare it to, I don't know, working out, it's like a new exercise I haven't done. Yeah. And yet, and it's like, oh, and how can I have the experience of it as an opportunity to grow? Yeah.
Well,
Or
there's
to,
the magic right there. We are going back to the beginning of this conversation. We are energy that is always in holding a different vibration. It's always in movement. And we need to stop resisting and start embracing change, like a new exercise. That's the only way we grow. If you resist, well, you'll eventually, the universe is going to push you to grow. You're going to have no choice, because collectively we're all shifting and growing. So you can either resist and eventually face those energetic patterns or those fears or whatever, that low dense energy that you maybe don't want to look at, or you can start to have an attitude of embracing change. This is a new experience, and that's where your perspective is everything. Life can be, the unknown can is where excitement comes from. If we didn't have unknown, then how can we have the element of surprise? So shifting change from scary to it being a beautiful surprise in every now moment, because that again is the perspective of that, bringing in that child self. Like every new, that first time you take that first step, and look at me, I added 5 more pounds to whatever routine that I did. And I wasn't identifying in my age or what my former self could do. I was living in the now, and I decided, okay, I'm going to just try it. I'm going to push myself. And this is why we have coaches. I was at the gym the other day, and she's like, she just is it okay if I just switch this weight out? Okay. And I switched it out, and look and behold, it was actually quite easy because I was just picking up that form, that old weight, because that's what I always did. I was stuck in a routine, and we need to start embracing change and start challenging ourselves to being capable of so much more, because we are incredible and fully capable of more. We just need to believe in ourselves. At the end of the day, belief in oneself is where all the power starts from. That is your source of everything.
Mm. And in all this, it's funny, but that's keep coming is like it in that moment of, we mentioned resistance. So it's like how how one is going to approach resistance, because sometimes there's a message in that resistance as well
Mhm.
before moving on to the next step.
Yep.
And sometimes it takes a small step, and at some point it's like boom. And for me, that's what I've seen sometimes if I was pushing too much or saying, oh, I can do that, and yet it's in the what is the word, continuation, because we can make a big change. Like, let's say, well, I'm gonna make that big change in a week, and then what's happening the next week or the following week. And that's, I find as well, is the balance in all this. And whether that was the reminder for me, because maybe I started to add too much on my plate, it was like, take a break, that's okay.
Mhm.
And not being too because the perfectionist as well is like the harshness, and it's like being too harsh with myself, and yeah, giving oneself a break as well on that journey, which sometimes is, well, not sometimes, it is challenging.
Mhm.
And that's okay to fall and to come back, because sometimes it's about that fall as well. That fall has got the message, or taking it slow, and seeing from where really um an intention to change, or an intention um to do a bit more exercise, or what's the intention behind that. Because if it's led by something of like, which
Ego.
is not, yeah, yeah, then that's gonna
Control.
crash. That's gonna crash as
It's
well.
gonna crash. Yes. Doing your best in that now moment
Mm.
is the best. Like, if we
There's
can just
only that
accept that,
moment.
there's only
Yeah.
that, right?
Mm.
That is the best, doing your best in the now moment. And you're right, because there are days where you
On the floor.
are on the floor or you can't go to the gym. And that's also recognizing all aspects of ourselves, right? Our emotional body, our physical body, it's everything. And we need to work as one. That's the ascension journey, mind, body, soul, and finding that harmony with it within. And when it all aligns, that's when the channel opens. We've talked about this before. And then that's when we can move outside of programming. We ascend into that higher dimension, 5D. Which is what I like to call it, crossing over, and then you're really in flow and you're stepping into your superhuman self. Are we there all the time? No, that's the journey. We go in and out. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You pull on your tools and your tricks. I look forward to the day that people are clearing their energy every day, like they are brushing their teeth
Mm.
and washing their bodies. It should be part of our physical hygiene, it's our energetic hygiene, and we do need to start practicing this in our daily lifestyle, because it is a contributing factor to how we feel in every now moment. And it's an easy way to release energies that are no longer serving us or that you just need to let go of. What do you do for that? Do you have a daily practice that you use to?
Um, I've had like daily ones, and now it's just whatever pops up. But I just I was
Let's go
like,
back. Let's go back. Yeah.
it's just when you were talking, I was like, oh, I know why it's been like, like you were talking about, like what's the separation, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it's a separation within as well,
Mm-hmm.
because that is the separation which makes us separate from, because
Mm-hmm.
everything outside. So it's when in that moment feeling challenged, or I don't want to do this, or what's the separation within as well in that moment, and then bring it back to one, and then moving, not forward because there's no forward, but like moving up,
Moving up.
yeah,
It,
moving
it
up.
literally is moving up. If you think about it, like
Yeah.
God is not low vibrating. Love is not low vibing. It's fear is.
Yeah. And at the same time, I kind of feel as well, it's all the same coin.
Well, it's all part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So in terms of practice, well, it sometimes at some point it was a lot like meditation, daily meditation, and I experienced different form of meditation. Um, I did chanting as well at some point. But at the moment it can be as simple as taking myself on a walk, because there's that movement of the body as well. So yoga was quite a lot part of my life as well. Um, some dance, but the daily practice as well is like when I wake up, is just tuning into myself, and if I feel, yeah, it's funny because at some point it just like becomes so natural that your question is how to answer. But there's so many ways, I'd say, and now it's gone a bit crazy how you can access anything as well. I mean, in my time, in my days, but so that it was really going also and meeting people. So sometimes it was, meeting up, and we would have conversation. It was a conversation with a friend in terms of, hygiene is also the mind. What's the mind is chatting.
Yes.
Books. There's so many possible practices and tools, and for me, it's what comes in the moment. And at the same time, it's much more easier than, having a specific practice. It can be put on a song, a nice smell. There's there's so many possibility, and once one knows oneself better, then the what's going to pull me up is just going to come without me thinking about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nature has been, always been also a big reflection, but also big support. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just sitting by a tree, or falling in love with a tree as well. Once I was like in the street in the city, and I was just like seeing the tree so bright, and I felt the tree and me. It was a love connection. There was no other. And take a bath, there's so many ways I find, and sometimes resting mostly as well, so ultimately listening to oneself as well, and if it's feeling bad, it's okay, just having that conversation with oneself, and kindness and love, and wherever we can implement this. I mean, You know, if you look at the world, sometimes it just look completely ridiculous and state it's still in. And it's not the world, it's each individual, how much love and how much kindness one can have to work towards oneself first. And then it expands, filling your cup, and see how you can radiate that out.
It's living in integrity and holding the highest virtues, love and respect for all things life. That is living in honor, and that feeds a sense of worth from within. And as you hold and build on that self-worth, that is really where that abundance starts to flow in. And abundance, as you know, comes from so many sources. It's not just money. So I really truly believe that having a wealth consciousness mindset is really taking a look at the energy that you're projecting out into the world. What are you wishing for others? Because that is going to come back to you tenfold. Do you really wish the best for others? And be honest about that. And then really feeding into your self-worth and exploring all the parts of you that are maybe feeling unworthy, and then alchemizing it, healing, nurturing that part of you, honoring the journey from going from point A to point Z, and stopping at every stage of the journey to acknowledge how far you have come and how far you are going. And that's spiritual currency. That if we're going to look at the quantum field and how everything starts in an energy and then comes into form, holding that vibration of worthiness and these really high virtues that are embedded in you, that you embody, it starts to manifest in your reality. And it's your energy is your power. It's everything, and it can be felt. You become a head turner and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Until you start saying, what was they looking at me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter will say that. So many people turn around and look at you, Mom. Oh, really? You don't even notice. I don't notice. Because you're in a field of projecting love and in the experience. And I don't know about you, but like when I am in my 5D self and I don't see people anymore. I see souls. I see perfection everywhere I go. And even when somebody's struggling, I'm holding space and energy for them to connect to the source that is within them, so that they can move out of that experience, so that they can really feel self-empowered and see how remarkable they are as they move through it, and that they can hold on to that experience so that it fuels their next empowered experience.
Mm.
The eyes of an ascended master. That's the gift of doing the work. And again, if we're going to dissolve the separation, it's not that one person's better than another. No, That person made a conscious choice to do the inner work and move through all that stickiness and all those energetic snags, and chose to feed life into themselves and say, okay, I'm not going to buy into that story anymore. I choose to believe in me. I choose to believe in this or that, whatever it is that's holding a higher vibration. And you do it over and over and over again until you self-actualize in that new frequency. And then guess what? There's always a next. And yes, we're going to get hit with harder challenges, but that is an opportunity to see how incredibly powerful you are. It's not, is it going to hold you back? Well, that's your choice. Or are you going to move through it and grow and then use your experience to inspire another? That's how we move through it collectively. You do it over and over and over again. And that is the journey until you self-actualize. I'm going to repeat myself over and over and over again, because that is what we do over and over again. And then all of a sudden you will cross over and you're like, holy geez, this is real. This is amazing. This is beautiful. I'm going to hold my energy over here and I'm going to hold my hand down and I'm going to show you and guide you so that you can do it also, because this is possible.
Yes, and I mean now, and for sometimes now, but there's so much access to example as well, you know, because sometimes people are going to say, well, no, or I don't believe that, or, and it's okay if they're not ready to. But you know, people who were born with disabilities, or you know, athletes who run with all this. So because on some level there can be a pushback. It's like, no, that's not possible for me. And if one is presented with that sort of example, it's a big challenge to want to see. Ultimately is that as well. It's like, do I want to look at another possibility, or do I want to stay where I am, and with all the excuses of staying where I am, which again, it's not wrong or right, it's not bad, it's a choice.
This is choice.
And I'm just thinking, because we were talking about wealth as well, and I feel there's so much guilt around that, or around money itself, because yeah, ultimately in the frequency, the source frequency is the true wealth, or the love, and but on the material matter as well, money it's got like a bad rap, and I've had my own journey with money as well, but the guilt around it, and the either the guilt of having money, or the guilt of not having money, or the guilt of asking, or the guilt of giving, and or not giving, because I found myself confronted with this week. I mean, it's been an interesting, I had forgotten, but like I was walking in the street and then someone asked me, but I was not ignoring that person, but if it's done this way, then this is the confrontation which can come in those moments of like someone thinking you've got more than me, or and you were talking about you didn't use the word deserving. I can't remember what you said, but it's in the mix as well. It's like, nobody knows the situation of someone else.
No.
And there's judgment around wealth, around money. We don't know where a person come from, and it's this is also a programming, because money can be used for beautiful.
It's amazing. It's a tool. It's a tool.
From that place, that's also seeing wealth and having the wealth consciousness of seeing it a great opportunity to create, rather than to destroy, like sometimes it's used for as well.
At the end of the day, though, it's perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
because you
It's
could
a choice
be,
as well of what to.
yeah, but you could be, somebody may see wealthy as having a sports car and a house in the south of France, and somebody else, I have my debts paid, and I don't have to worry about paying my rent next month. And it's all a matter of perspective, right? But and that's where the separation also
Preparation, yeah.
results.
Yes, that's where I
Yeah,
was.
and we need to get away from competition again,
Mhm.
because again, it's coming into this like, why are you competing? If we're going to go back to what you said earlier, at the end of the day, at some point our body will go and we will die, and our spirit will move on, and our consciousness will live on through the people who are still here. And it's the messaging, it's the story that you have left behind that is really where all if you want to be immortal, then be immortal through an inspiring message that you are delivering every day.
Mm. Yes. Whether it's heard or not heard, or received or not received, is the choice of like how our action or our word or our beingness in the world, because of the belief of who we are. But beyond the belief, it's like the knowing of our innate miracle. We talk about it.
And I would argue it is being heard and received always, because it's part of the intelligence.
Yeah, but in the sense of like someone's gonna might ignore the message
Oh,
or
well,
might
they'll ignore it, but I can guarantee you, if it's a
something is
positive,
done
yeah,
something. Absolutely.
your ancestors are, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
the me- the
it might not
message.
look received,
Mhm.
but something is passed on.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, that's the beautiful exchange of energy, and that is part of the human experience. And I'm just feeling into see if there's anything else that wants to come through. Are you feeling into anything that you would like to explore? I I'd like to touch on healing. So I just really felt that in my heart chakra. And in order to heal, to step into that self-worth, I truly believe it was very connected to healing all of our energy centers, with the heart being the source of it all. That's where real magic and healing comes in. And I want to, I'll let you, I feel like I'll let you move from that, but I just felt a massive activation in my heart there. And I think it's worth
But
exploring.
yeah, it's interesting because this morning I woke up and it was straight to the heart. So like my hand, one hand on the front, and I can't remember it, but and one hand and in the back, and now was holding the heart, and it felt like this. I don't know if it's in the energy of the moment, but it is. I had another message as well coming, um, well, around abundance in the heart at the moment, and reopening the heart. And last week, I was called to revisit as well something around Mary Magdalene, which Mary Magdalene. So
She came through this morning for me as well. So there's something there. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
um and I feel like for me a lot of the beginning of the exploration for me was about the heart, the sensitivity and feeling everything. You were talking about like how you can relate to someone else. And it's been learning as well to be led by my heart, but not overtaken by the sensitivity, because that was not the true heart. Because being in my heart, in my true heart, I can hold everything, and everything is being felt, but at the same time, the message, it's being transmuted, and the healing is, well, exponential is the word which comes, which is not a word I use, but I'm going to speak it. And it feels, yeah, it's no words, actually. That's what I'm feeling right
Mm.
now.
It's
Mm.
interesting that you say no words, because for myself, that's how when how healing through the heart is just so powerful. If there's any resistance in that heart chakra, then that's where some TLC needs to come in, and the attention needs to come in, the acknowledgement needs to come in. And as soon as you do all those things, it's like that, those cracks open up and it starts to flow, and love just flows through you. And love is just the most powerful frequency, because it can transmute any lower vibration. And if you just allow that love to flow through you, yes, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, but it's just because the body is adjusting to these really high frequencies. But it's innate being, its innate frequency is held in love. We are created. And so if we start to bring our attention to that, and start to play in a tuning to the highest frequencies of love, and loving all aspects of ourselves, that is where the transformation really starts to happen. And that magic, as you said earlier, starts to come in. And when we can hold these frequencies of love and perfection in its purest form, and that's when we're channeling, because it's you know, we can, maybe you can explain your version of channeling. But when you're channeling, it's outside of programming, it's outside of ego. You're just holding that frequency of love and divine perfection. And the more you practice as a channel to just hold it and then emit it, and allow others to attune to that frequency. And if they believe and agree to it, they can energetically attune to your frequency. And that is where the healing begins. I say I am an energy healer because I know how to transmute and heal my energy and move into a place where I can channel. But the real magic is in the frequency of pure love, pure source intelligence. And if I can hold that energy and invite a space for somebody else to attune to it, then they can heal themselves.
Yes.
Through the source that's already held within them innately.
Yes. What was having the words of Christ consciousness, and also seeing it, Christ consciousness in all the cell of our body, and reminding me as well that a few weeks ago I was again walking by the water, and I just felt the miracle water in my body. Felt like, actually, and ultimately in those moments that you were talking about, like I I'm not doing anything, because at some point as well, I was practicing, so I was receiving people, and it was holding a space, but I was not healing them. It was whatever was coming through me, and I'm just there to hold the space for them. But there's nothing about me doing anything. It's not about me in that moment. If anything, is for them to reconnect, to have that reconnection with something greater than them, and for them to carry on their own journey of healing in that moment. So it's just a messenger. It's being the messenger of whatever is flowing through me, which is the same as what they've got inside, and they just need like a bit like a match, just like to scratch it for them to ignite it in themselves, for the healing to happen. And in that moment, there's no one else to rely on either. It's just really allowing the divine to flow through, and not even to flow through, just like what I was saying, those cells of Christ consciousness, they just pops like little bubbles again, and they just
It just glows. It glows.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I've learned that is really powerful as well to help others connect the divinity that's within them is to connect through the eyes, because the eyes are the gateway to the soul. And when you truly look at somebody while you're holding that Christ consciousness and emitting these, projecting these beautiful transmissions of love and perfection, you see others in their wholeness, and you see the divinity in them, and they felt seen by you. And then if that person can believe in me, then I can believe in me. And that is the beautiful exchange of spiritual currency. This is how we will change the world. And that is the power of a spiritual leader. They can see the divinity in others. They believe in others. They hold them in their highest light, but they are not there to heal others. They're there to guide others to heal themselves.
It's the transmission of I see you as the divine that you are, and I see you as the divine that I am as well. And coming back to separation, that is none. I see you as...
That goes back to what we said earlier with the if you give, if it comes back tenfold, it really does come back tenfold. Because when you are wishing that and holding that space for others and guiding them, there's nothing more gratifying. You don't care about the stuff and the clothes and the yeah, that's fun to experience, but that's trivial compared to the energy that you feel when you are having this beautiful exchange of energy, when you know that you did your best in that moment for another. There's nothing more gratifying than
that. There's never a moment of imperfection.
Never.
If we're like, and the stuff like you were saying, whatever the clothes, that's part of the play as well, the game of it all,
The dance of
like
life.
of how to what's the word, how to dress the divine in this physical form, that one. And if it's done from that place, then it can become really playful. It's not about...
It is playful.
It is playful. It is not about like a show, except a divine show. So it's like, how are you going to show up as a divine today? I'm going to wear this, or I'm going to experience this. And that's it. It's just a,
Yeah, and no guilt, no shame, because those are programs of society. If this is how you are going to express source
it fits on that
intelligence,
plate.
God through you, then
Yeah.
do it. Your high self is a gateway. Your highest to express the divine through you. And if you want to do it, I don't know, wearing whatever, you let your imagination go crazy. But if you want to be like covered in jewels, or if you want to walk around free and naked, or like however you want to do it, but you're holding the right frequency, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as recognizing where it's coming from.
Well, and keeping the virtues, respect, goes back to living in integrity. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. I agree. This is where that's the dance. That's the dance of life. Again, we're always dancing, we're shifting, we're creating, and also having a safe space to explore this stuff with people, and having and that's where trust comes in, and having small circles. I would say small circles is safer
Hmm.
to explore that stuff, and this is why we have divine unions, divine friendships, and so that we can explore in a safe place, and attracting people who are equally yoked to us, so that we can be a reflection for one another, and we can start to co-create and play in these higher frequencies. But it comes back to just being the best, your best self, being a good human being, which sounds simple, but the reality is it's work to get there. And it's funny because I'm hearing my one daughter say it's really hard being your daughter. And it is, it's hard. And even within my family growing up, it was challenging because I grew up in a household of really, really high integrity. And it's about doing the right thing and living a virtuous life. And that is not easy for many people. But as you grow as a group, as a unit, you become stronger. We may be small, but we're mighty. And because we're standing in our integrity and our truth, and that can't be broken. It's a foundation for, what is it a foundation for? Success, if you will. I don't want to name it success. It's just really strong. It can't be broken. It just builds and grows, because guess what, having that family unit with that really strong foundation, then that messaging is being passed on from generation to generation, circle to circle, leading through example. It's unbreakable. But it's not easy to come into that circle. And that's where sometimes relationships, well, again, it comes down to choice. So I'm doing full circle moment right now. But all I know is that I have to stand in my truth and living a virtuous life, high honor, integrity, allows me to heal and grow. I could sleep at night with ease. and just restore. And I do believe it's an important ingredient to evolving in the highest light. As challenging as it may be for my children. But they work through it. And then again, I'll always invite them into choice in the every now moment. And it's not perfection. It's
Mm.
just choice. It comes back to that. And that's how we shape our future. That's how we guide the next generation to understand ego and programming and all the messaging, because they're journeying through it as well. They're way more advanced and evolved than at least I was at that age. And like my dad always says, you just want it. All I hope for is that is with every generation, it gets a little bit
Yeah.
better, if you will, and it grows. And that is really the goal. That is the snowball effect. That's the ripple effect. That's evolution.
Yeah, and I was hearing the word vulnerability as well. It's like when you were talking about, either friendship one-to-one or circle, sometimes it takes a risk to show yourself as vulnerable, and your daughter coming to you as saying this as well. It's like, how you going to receive that, and
Mhm.
how to feel received or seen in this moment, um and in these places where everything can be expressed, um
Yeah.
in the respect of each other, but like everything, and even the thing that one might judge oneself for or feel bad or shame or whatever, in the place of really being in that trust with another, that you can be vulnerable
Right.
even about what you mess up or everything, then that's healing as well, because there's someone else who's there to say, well, it's okay
I
if
love
that.
you anyway.
Yes. Or
Again, it goes back to that heart
you are
space.
loved. Yeah, you are loved anyway. If one can see that as well. And I feel sometimes there's not really the space to speak about it. And if I speak about myself, there's one thing. I mean, years ago, I thought I had done something terrible, and I was carrying that. And
Mm.
I just happened to speak about it to a friend, and he said, what are you on about? I mean, first of all, the other person had been nasty to you. So you responded to the best at that moment of feeling hurt. And it was not great, but for me, because either perfection or like, that high or that spiritual being that I wanted to be great. And I was such a heavy shoulder, but my heart was hurting as well. And what I was concerned more about is like the bad that I might have done in that moment, not even seeing that ultimately I had come from a place of hurt and I had responded the best I could. But when I could speak about it with someone else and someone else received me in saying, well, yeah, it was not the great thing to do. And yet, where you were coming from, and hearing that, being able to speak those moments that we think we might have done the worst thing compared to everything else, then it's also, it's a healing and it's a gift being
Yeah.
able to share those moments, which for me, I mean, it was nothing, but I had made it such a big thing. I was carrying it for months until for some reason I could speak it.
But
And
what a reflection that was,
mhm,
because in that moment you were just seeing that you were operating from your wounds,
yes,
and we all go through that.
mhm, I didn't
So,
know
but
because I
we
I
didn't
had to be
know.
perfect. I had to
Yes,
be perfect.
right, right. But let's give ourselves a little grace
Exactly.
that we are all like, nobody is perfect. This is the journey, and moving in and out of these experiences is what is empowering us and helping us shift into our highest self. And it isn't our fault. If
And
it,
being able to share it, or to have someone to um not off the burden, but on some level is that as well. And some people, I'm just thinking, whoever might be listening, sometimes it's just a matter of finding as well the right person, whether it's a close friend or a stranger. I mean, when you think about it as well, sometimes people go and have a coffee and they're just going to chat to
mhm.
the bartender or whatever. But like giving oneself permission to share or to speak whatever might be going through, it can be life-saving, and it's yeah.
If we're going to end on anything, I think that is a powerful message.
Mhm.
Because if we acknowledge that we're all operating from, for the majority of the time, from programming, wounds, identity, everyone is just trying to survive, be seen, be heard. And if we can acknowledge this and then just allow others to have their own experience and stop manipulating or interjecting our own energy onto another and just hold space for them to explore whatever it is they need to explore. And if they ask for advice, try in that moment to look at things from a higher perspective. And instead of giving an opinion, but provide choice for them so that they can make their own decision, then that is being a friend.
Mhm.
And
But
try and do it in the most neutral place you can. Because we will never 100% know what another person, where another person's coming from, because we are not that person.
Mhm.
So allow that person to explore and see through their own experience,
Mm.
and give them space to make a conscious choice.
Mm. And in that way as well, in sharing the experience, is like each person is a, a potential messenger, or I won't use the word teacher, but like there's everybody can contribute as well to one another.
Exactly, exactly. It opens a space for gratitude
Mhm.
because that person felt seen, heard, safe. And then that ripple effect starts. And then you're holding gratitude for this friend that you have, that this person in your life that came like an earth angel and held space for me to explore. This is where that identity in the earth angel comes in, because an earth angel just loves and holds space for another to evolve and grow
Unconditionally, yeah.
unconditional. And when you fall, they're there. You're still loved.
Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. Well, we could go on and on. I guess we'll continue in a couple of weeks, but Elodie, this has been amazing. Do you have any aha moments, any final reflections that you would like to share?
No, I think like there's been so much already, so
Yeah, so much. I'm holding
yeah.
gratitude.
Yeah.
We'll finish in the spirit of gratitude, because this has been an amazing journey once again. And I'm holding the intention that it reaches all the right people for all the right reasons for the highest good of all.
Yes.